Hey everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Nintendo News Report, a new live show made primarily for Nintendo World Report TV's YouTube channel. During this show, we discuss recent Nintendo news as well as this week's new releases, reviving that classic newscast spirit. I'm your host,
Hell yeah.
Alexander Kalafi, and I am joined by site director Neal Ronahan,
Hi, everybody.
as well as Connectivity Podcast editor Scott Thompson.
Hello.
We're gonna see how this show turns out. We got this cool structure. We got top story at the top of the show that we're going to discuss the one big story that we're all dying to talk about. Then we got the new releases. There's a couple cool ones this week. And then at the end we'll discuss the rest of the news, which has some cool ones. You'll want to stick around until the end because we have NPD discussion. That sounds like a show. So let's get started. Neal, I know you're so excited to talk about this. Amiibo Wave 2, show us what you got.
Well, first off, I got Little Mac right here. This is today's purchase. See, hi. Okay, no, I'll stop being an asshole. So the whole Amiibo thing is kind of insane at this point. To be blunt, here's the Skinny on Wave 2 right now. Live field report. Half of Wave 2 is delayed until the end of the month. Originally, it looked like it was all going to come out like this weekend, although Toys R Us and I think some other stores had a bunch of them out early. December 12th, which is tomorrow, was supposed to be the day when I think a lot of them were going to hit stores. I think some stores like Target were going to hold them for Sunday because that's when they have their weekly ads, and if they advertise something in the ads, they want to make sure they're actually there. So right now, the only Wave 2 stuff that's in the stores in America right now, it's Zelda, Diddy Kong, and Little Mac. It looks like Luigi, Captain Falcon, and Pit were part of some sort of shipment delay, maybe, or that might have been a rumor, or not 100%, but those won't be coming out until it looks like after Christmas. I know I've gone full hog into this dumb thing, and I even have online pre-orders at Best Buy and Toys R Us, and all of the ones, not that I have multiple pre-orders for ones, but my pre-orders for Pit, Captain Falcon, and Luigi were all pushed back to December 30th.
So I want to ask what the end game for Amiibo is, but first I kind of want to know what your end game is, because there's going to be up to 50 figures of this, including some real rough ones. Are you okay? So Lucario is the line. He's the line. I might have talked about this on previous podcasts in which I said there was no way in hell I'm going to get fucking Diddy Kong, but what's up, everybody? I got Diddy Kong because I went to a Toys R Us. There was Zelda. And I went to go buy the Zelda, and they're like, "Oh, didn't you see Diddy Kong was there too?" And I'm just like, "Okay, I'll go get it." Fun fact: I checked Best Buy's website this morning because I have a $10 credit, and I was considering using it to get an Amiibo tomorrow. Diddy Kong was the only one of the three I saw up, and it was like that one, Little Mac, and not Zelda. What was the third one? Either way, there was Luigi.
Okay.
Little Mac. And then there you go.
Actually, when I noticed even too with the online pre-orders, I pre-ordered two at Toys R Us. Toys R Us currently has a buy one get one 40% off deal going on if you want to take advantage of that. But I pre-ordered Little Mac and Pit, and then immediately after I did that, when I went to go, I was going to like send a link to someone else, and the Little Mac page was taken down. This is insanity. And the worst part about it is that all the statements we've gotten from Nintendo, which I have an editorial up on the site called The Disappointing Scarcity of Amiibo, in which I go into kind of full detail on all of this. But the worst thing about it is the comments from Nintendo kind of don't really give you a solid answer as to whether or not we'll see some of the hard-to-find ones ever again, like, Marth, Villager, and Wii Fit Trainer.
Why is Villager hard to find?
Yeah, I mean, like, the Marth one...
top 5 Nintendo franchises sales-wise.
Yeah.
Probably top 5...
But that's the worrying thing, is that there's all these threats of discontinuation, and are we going to see these figures again? Who knows at this point? And it's not even like, oh, you had like a month or two to buy them. Like, you had a weekend, and if you didn't get Marth that weekend, you're pretty much shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, and I think this probably speaks to the greater problem of what Nintendo wants to do with Amiibo, because this like stock issue almost seems to speak to a greater issue, which is Nintendo isn't sure what it wants with Amiibo. It has like a lot of little ideas, and I consider Smash a little idea, even though it has a larger implementation.
I mean, it was a last-minute idea. Like, we know that for sure.
It seems like it exists for the sake of existing, and this stock issue only accentuates that, if anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sakurai even said it like that. It was like this year, Nintendo was like, "Hey, we want you to come up with a way to do this. Let's go."
They had to use that NFC port for something.
Yeah. I mean, but it seems. That's the thing that's so troublesome is that you have Disney Infinity and Skylanders who have like done this and done it successfully already, and it looks like Nintendo just like only tried to learn from themselves, which is kind of typical Nintendo in a way, but it looks like they saw Pokemon Rumble Blast and were like, oh, we'll just do that, but with a slightly bigger scale. It won't all be at GameStop. And then the one kind of, the conclusion that I reached is that Amiibo is only for one console, whereas Skylanders and Disney Infinity is for everything.
Well, it's going to be for 2 consoles, and then it's also going to be more than figures, probably starting next year.
Yeah. Which would make sense, because that's easier to, I guess, get out there and have shelf space.
Right, they want as many people as possible to use that square port on the Wii U and eventually the 3DS, and playing cards are probably going to be the way to do it, which will mean Nintendo's going full circle. They're starting as a playing card company, and then they'll be doing playing cards as their latest thing starting next year.
Yeah. Which is, it's just, it's like kind of sad because this has just become like a crappy collector's market now. And because of all this stuff with like ones being hard to find, it's just going to drive up scalping and collectors more.
And I'm very curious to see how the competitive market is affected by this, because as I was saying earlier, the fun fact that I never got to, Diddy Kong was the only one sold out of those 3 I saw this morning, and I think the reason is, on Japanese tier lists, Diddy Kong is the highest ranked character in Smash Bros. Or at least, maybe 4chan was lying, maybe he's secretly really terrible, but the last tier list I saw, Diddy Kong was at the very top of the Wii U tier.
I know, I played against some very good Diddy Kong players, so I would believe that he is one of the best for sure.
I'm going to start playing against a very good Diddy Kong. He's, right here.
What are you going to nickname him?
I don't know.
Kitty Dong?
Shitty Kong. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, this whole Amiibo thing, I guess the scarcity, at least for, those 3 that you mentioned, the Wii Fit Trainer, Marth, and then the Villager, doesn't really bother me because, A, like, pretty much everyone I know who wants to collect these things got it the first weekend, and then B, like, these are kind of fringe characters. Like, if someone is just going to get a Wii U, like, this Christmas or next year, I kind of don't feel like those are the characters they're worried about. So you should make more room for Luigi and Diddy Kong and Zelda even, more kind of well-known characters. And then bring those back later if there's reason to bring them back. If there's games that can use them.
Then Nintendo needs to be upfront about that. I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, you say that they could bring them back, but, like, we don't know that.
Well, no, we don't know, but I've heard a lot of people say, like, well, what about when Fire Emblem, and Shin Megami Tensei comes out, but now no one's going to have Marth. But you got to believe, like, if that game is going to support Marth as an Amiibo, they're going to reprint Marth, because they're not going to make any money off of people just selling them for crazy amounts of money on eBay and stuff. Yeah. I mean, they want to have it out on shelves because they know people will buy it then. So I think there's a rhyme and a reason to this. It doesn't really bother me, I guess. Everyone who collects these things, like, I guess I don't know a lot of people who are crazy for collecting, but Neal, you have the whole first wave, don't you?
Yeah, you know why? Because I haven't been taking a lunch to relax. Like, I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, really, like, I probably wouldn't have Marth if I didn't go to, like, 5 fucking stores last week, or the other week. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's not like it was just like, oh, I went to a Toys R Us and they were all there. It's like, no, like, I wrote a feature about how I went to, like, 7 stores. I had to order the Marth online and pick it up at a Target that was out of the way on my way home.
And it sounds like most stores would probably order Marth by accident, thinking they would be ordering the entire first wave of Amiibos just because it's Nintendo, while a lot of other stores did what was probably the smarter thing and just not getting Marth at all. Like, you can't really
Well-
blame a lot of retailers for not getting the Marth one in.
I think some of it might be, and this is, I don't know that much about toy shipments, but it's like you'll have a box or a case in which there will be like, let's say there's like, you know, like 10 Marios, 10 Links, 5 Villagers, and 5 Marths or something. Or maybe it's even smaller numbers than that. But that's kind of what you're dealing with more, and I think it's when you get to reordering, if that's even possible, which, once again, we don't know. Like, that, all the Marths that were made, they could have already been made.
Word. All right, that's good. Let's move on to new releases. We got another thing Neal is excited to talk about: Xeodrifter.
Yeah, so Xeodrifter is the new game from the Mutant Mudds developer, Renegade Kid. It is a Metroidvania style game. I guess maybe just more Metroid style game. It's very much old school, like 8-bit Metroid influenced, and it's very fun. It's a little on the short side. It's very challenging. But I guess the one bad thing about it is that there's just the same damn boss over and over again. And they add different things to it that kind of go in line with the power-ups and abilities that you get. Since it is a Metroid-like game, you get different power-ups. Like one of them is you turn into a submarine and can go in water. And one of them you can shift from one dimension to the other as in like stereoscopic 3D layers. And those are all fun and everything, and it's great moving around that world and exploring. And it's a little bit brutal, but that kind of makes it fun. And I know this will speak to what you love, Alex, but almost like in that Dark Souls kind of way, where it's like, all right, I could stay here, but I want to get over there, but I might die. But fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway.
So there's a lot of repetitive death, but death where you gain a little bit every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, not as in like you like gain levels or anything, but I mean like you know
gain
the
a
enemy
personal
placement.
experience.
Yeah.
Right. It's not necessarily always tangible experience you gain in Dark Souls, because sometimes in Dark Souls you lose everything. But sometimes you also end up learning, like, okay, I know this enemy's right here. I know this is where I can post up to glitch the system a little bit and see where everything. That's good to hear. I have a question that's semi-related to Xeodrifter, but more related to Renegade Kid. Where is Treasure Knots?
It's coming next, I think.
Okay.
The official story with that, I guess, and this is, I haven't really talked to Jules personally about this, but from picking up on Twitter and different things. So he was working on Treasure Knots, and I think development on that got kind of halted because then he started working on the Colt County Kickstarter, and that bombed. And I think he was really sad, as one would be when your Kickstarter fails. And then out of that, he started working on a kind of more simplistic Metroidvania idea because he just wanted to make a game. And then he started working on Xeodrifter and kind of scoped it out and realized that he could finish it before the end of the year. Whereas Treasure Knots, because Treasure Knots' scope had expanded, that would still take more time. So I think Treasure Knots is probably in like full development now, because I mean Xeodrifter's out, and I know Moon Chronicles, the remaining episodes of that, all got submitted to Nintendo, and that should probably be out maybe early January or something.
Okay.
He's probably working on Treasure Knots right. He could be working on it as we speak.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe, but I think Treasure Knots, the current time frame is probably, I don't know, like sometime early next year, but that
The
could
time
change.
frame they originally planned on for this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, what happened with Treasure Knots is that the scope expanded. It was originally supposed to be a smaller game, and then as time went on, they kind of wanted to add more to it because it was going to be a game where you died once and you had to start over, and then it kind of changed to be a little bit more than that, which made, it changed the design of the concept of the game.
It was fun. I'm looking forward to it. How much is Xeodrifter?
It is $9.99, which I think is a fine price, at least from the time that I put into it. I put in about 3.5 hours. I didn't get to 100% completion, but I think it was at like 92 or something. And it's a fun little game. Like I really like the ideas of it. It totally could have stood being a little bit longer, but at the same time, if I had to fight that stupid boss one more time, I probably would have been way more negative on the game.
Yeah, you should be thankful it ended when it did, I guess.
Yeah, you fight the boss 7 different times.
I'll probably get that during a sale. Like, 50% off is probably what I'll stick out for. But it's cool. I'm glad it's a good game. Phoenix Wright trilogy is the other game we're talking about this week.
When in that sweet future where I have free time, totally getting this because I want to replay the Phoenix Wright games real bad.
It's like 60 hours of gameplay easily, if not closer to 70 or 80.
I mean, I've beaten the first two, but then again, that was so long ago that I couldn't really tell you what happened.
Right. So the way this series works is the reason they're releasing it as a trilogy is, as I'm sure you know, the story is one arc from the first game to the third game. There is stuff in the third game that resolves stuff that happened in the second and first game. And they're all standalone games. They can all stand on their own, but it's one main story, which is good here. They have completely forgotten Apollo Justice outside of the new game, though.
Yeah.
That's getting nothing.
Well, because he was in... I mean, he had a role in Dual Destinies, right? The fifth one?
Right. He's one of the two main playable characters alongside Phoenix. And then Athena, I think her name is, also gets a case of her own, maybe. But yeah, it's cool. Remastered visuals, 3D diorama effect. It's a straight collection of the OG trilogy. So there you go. It's $30 probably. I think $30. That's reasonable.
$29.99, and you can read a review of it up on the site by Andy Gergen. I think he gave it an 8.5.
Nice.
Right, and also consider how these games used to be. Now, granted, they've been reprinted, and you can get them for like $20 each on Amazon nowadays. But when these games came out in like 2005, 2007, or whenever, copies of these games were fetching $50, $60, $70 at their home.
Yeah, I bought the original for $15 at a GameStop, played through it, lent it to a friend, saw how much it was going for online, then sold it for $40. So, I mean, at this point, I guess I kind of owe Capcom about $30 because that's how much money I made off of buying the first one.
Those are amazing games. That trilogy is absolutely incredible, and especially the third game. Don't start with it. Work your way up to it because the first two games are really great too. But the third game, I'm pretty sure James from RFN listed as one of his greats, and well-deserved. It is the best game in that series. All right, moving on to news. The first one is about the Game Awards from 2014. We just did a live podcast of that the other day, Neal, I, and Brian Rose, and it's been doing pretty well. Watch it if you want. So it did about 2 million viewers, more than 75% increase over the number of people that watched the finale to the Video Game Awards on Spike TV. The viewers watched an average of 28 minutes of the show. Of the 4,000 or so available seats in the venue, 3,000 were filled. About half of those were paid for $45 tickets. The rest were industry members. But more importantly, more interestingly, Kaylee didn't make money on the show, but he always knew it would be an investment. That's fair enough.
And I think they're very successful.
He says he's not sure on the details of next year's show, but $1 million will, most likely take place, which is good because the more I think about it, the happier I am with the way the game
was a really enjoyable show. There were definitely some parts of it that were dumb and laughable, and it was kind of funny that it took them like 40 minutes to get to even one award. And started, and then the one time where Keeley just finds Reggie off stage, and it's just like, "Yo, man, you guys are best developer of the year." Let's show this Codename Steam trailer. Let's go. There were definitely things like that were goofy, but I just enjoyed watching it, and enjoying watching it sometimes was making a little fun of it, but it was an enjoyable thing to watch, and that's even without if the Zelda footage wasn't there, I still would not have been mad that I watched the whole thing.
I thought it was pretty good. It definitely wasn't as pandering as past video game award shows have been. Yeah. I thought it was pretty solid throughout, and I don't know if this speaks to sort of the quality and prestige of this show versus past ones, or just to Nintendo kind of getting into gear. But having that Zelda trailer there was such a huge surprise and so amazing. And yeah, I don't know if that. To think that they went from Cranky Kong's playable in Donkey Kong to here's an extended look at the next Zelda game, and we're gonna just kind of drop in that Star Fox is coming too. And Majora's Mask will come out before it as well. That was huge. It was cool. It was a good show overall. I agree. It was couldn't tell if it wanted to be an award show or E3, let's just show a bunch of trailers. But whatever. It was fun.
Yeah, I don't think it because I think you don't really want to call that anything else but the Game Awards, but it is at a point where like that tells a third, maybe half of the story, if that. But like, is that really a bad thing? I don't think just a straight like hour-long award show would be fun at all.
No, I think Jeff Keighley had his heart in the right place here. He knows that people like award shows and that we like something that pays respect to the video game industry on a larger scale, but he knows that one of the great things about these award shows are the cool reveals that happen. Because if you remember, last year's VGX, outside of all the stuff people complained about that was justifiable and had to do with the content, people were kind of upset, including me, that the only real new reveals were No Man's Sky, which that's a whole discussion that's for another day.
Telltale games.
And 2 Telltale games, Game of Thrones and Borderlands, which just released.
Yeah.
So now
and
they have
Game
a
of
lot
Thrones
more.
Episode 1. It's pretty fun.
Do you like the show?
I've warmed to the show. Lauren's super into the show, so I finally relented last season and it started enjoying it.
Okay, because this picks up after like one of the biggest spoilers in the series.
Oh yeah. You need to watch the first 3 seasons before you start
Right.
this series.
So yeah, it seems like he took the award stuff. Maybe there should have been more awards and a little less commercials. Maybe.
He even admitted that in that press release that came out. He said like, maybe we should have had more focus on the awards.
Right. But his heart was in the right place. He's trying, and I think the more stuff he does, the more I kind of dig Jeff Keighley. Like just as a person, like. Even though, yes, sometimes he can come across as a bit of a shill, he's doing his best. He's doing his best to be the representative of video games in the mainstream industry. In the mainstream society in general. Yeah. He's like, in a lot of ways, the representative of video games.
He's the Ryan Seacrest of video games.
Right.
That's actually pretty spot on.
I think I've heard that before, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's get on to the biggest news of the week.
Well, actually...
Theater Rhythm Dragon Quest.
Okay. March 26th, 2015 in Japan. Dragon Quest music, of course. No word on a release outside of Japan, and it is playable at the Jump Festa 15 in Japan on December 20th and 21st. I wish this was Pokemon, but it was going to be Dragon Quest. It was always going to be Dragon Quest.
I mean, definitely... I don't really know if a Theater Rhythm game outside of Final Fantasy will ever really be that amazing, but I'm willing to give this game a shot. And at this point, I'll probably get it regardless of whether or not it comes out in America, because I have a Japanese 3DS.
Well,
I don't know if I will just rock a demo. It'll kind of depend on what I'm doing on March 26th, if I've drank it all, if I have like $40 to spend. That's what it's going to come down to, whether or not I get that on the Japanese system or wait for the maybe U.S. release, which I would actually kind of cast a line of doubt at.
I give it about 60% odds of hitting the U.S.
Yeah,
about 60%. Right.
I think it'll come. You know, like, when I first heard this announcement, I was like, oh, well, this isn't really that exciting. Like, I've played a handful of Dragon Quest games, but I don't have an affinity for the music like I do for Final Fantasy. But going through both Theater Rhythm games... I mean, I haven't really played many of the like later Final Fantasy games, but it still gave me a big appreciation for the music throughout. So I think I'll still pick this up. There won't be as many songs I know off the bat, but just playing for a little bit, I think I'll come to appreciate like all the great music that I'm sure is in these games. So I'm ready to. I'm totally gonna jump on board if it comes to the U.S. And I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed for a Chrono Theater Rhythm. That's what I'm holding out for. So.
All right, so I'll ask you guys this question. I've said many times that I would love a Pokemon Theater Rhythm. Neal, if you had to have a Theater Rhythm based on any franchise, what would it be?
Zelda.
Scott?
Well, like I said, the Chrono series for sure. But if it can be something that's not Square,
anything ever. It doesn't even have to be a Nintendo system. Just get creative.
Get creative, right on the spot. No, I Chrono for sure, and then I would almost love them just to do like Theater Rhythm Nintendo. It doesn't even have to be.
I was gonna say Theater Rhythm Smash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Like do something like that.
Have you heard that fucking music in the Wii U game? It's incredible.
It's so good. Yeah, I would be down for just like a bunch of great Nintendo tracks. For sure.
Word. And our final story of the night: The NPDs just came out. This is hot news. We almost probably should have led with it, but you know what? We're sticking it at the end. Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS lands at number 3 of the NPD Top 10. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire's number 5, Ruby's number 7. I'm a little surprised Alpha Sapphire beat Ruby because I assumed Ruby would be the cooler one, but no word on 3DS. Is 3DS okay, Neal? You seemed a little heated.
No, it is not. I'll say that emphatically. So there's a little rule of thumb with these press releases that companies release. I think probably the best example, well, I guess the best overall example is how for all those months when Microsoft would be like, Xbox One is the number 2 console in America, and not actually give numbers.
Yeah.
When, basically, if you get all the data, then that company is proud of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the Wii U, I think we found out it was a 10% boost from last year, which that's positive. We didn't get the exact number, and that's because the exact number is still kind of underwhelming. It looks like Wii U did about 240,000 in November. However, I think the week after Smash Brothers came out was the best sales week for the system since launch.
I would imagine,
that's good. But then, on the other hand, both PS4 and Xbox One did around 1 million each. So, Nintendo still... I think at this point, Xbox One is assuredly outsold the Wii U.
I would...
considering that it sold more than 1 million in November.
Right, I was telling you this before the show, but Xbox totally earned this month, just marking the system down $70 and then including a game in those packages. You know what? It had a mission even more so than Sony, and it accomplished it.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people kind of being like, oh, it's going to hurt him in the long run, and I kind of disagree. I also don't think you're going to see that console go back up in price. But this is a Nintendo show, so I was using that Xbox One as an example. Also, let's talk about the 2DS for a second as another example of withholding information. So 2DS was announced. It was great. This is for kids. It's going to be awesome. Then we never heard how the 2DS sold specifically. We heard 3DS sales. But then, when the 3DS XL came out, all the press releases would be like, and 30% of the sales were 3DS XL, and we're really happy with that. You didn't hear anything about 2DS sales because it was disappointing. Yeah. So, ergo, when you don't hear about 3DS sales in one of the most important months of the year, then it's probably time to start worrying. And actually, time to start worrying was a year ago. 3DS hardware sales are awful.
No, everyone's holding out for that new 3DS.
It didn't. I don't even.
No,
honestly,
that's not true.
To both of you guys, do you think that'll move the needle at all? Maybe it'll stabilize it, but right now, 3DS peaked. 3DS peaked a year ago.
It depends. It depends how they sell it. If they sell it alongside Majora's Mask and they do a good job of selling it, I think it could do pretty well, at least at first, before it ends up going this way. But
yeah, it seemed like Japan had a good maybe it was a month long where they kind of had boosted sales from the new 3DS, and then it kind of tapered off. And I have a feeling that's how it's going to be worldwide. And I think in a way Nintendo shot themselves in the foot by announcing new 3DS in one region and then not having it come out anywhere else. It came out in Australia and New Zealand, but not having it come out in North America and Europe means that the savvy buyer is going to be like, well, you know what, I'll just wait for the new one next year. I have a lot, and granted, anecdotal evidence can sometimes be misleading and dumb. I have a ton of friends around my age that were all like, all right, I'm finally going to get a 3DS for Smash Brothers. Oh, there's a new one out next year, I'll just wait for that.
Yep.
Right, which is that could be the biggest reason why the 3DS isn't doing so well right now, outside of not having that much compelling software. Actually, no, that's even a lie, because it has Pokemon, which did 1.5 million units, and Smash Bros, which is still doing pretty hot. So I don't even think that's the problem.
I think 3DS has sold to just about everyone who wants one. You have a couple people withholding, but I think what Nintendo needs to do is keep on getting saps like us to buy the system over and over again, which is what they're going to do with the new 3DS. Because really, they've tapped out that market, and they're sort of doing the same thing with Wii U. Although I think Wii U has a lot more upward motion potential, just by sheer fact that it hasn't been doing well at all.
Nowhere else to go.
Wii U slowly but surely is existing. It's not blowing the doors off of everything, but like Smash Brothers sold really well. I think it was it was combined Wii U and 3DS, but I think it was the third game in November, which that's awesome. But at the same time, I mean, Wii U sales are still kind of a bummer, but the games are selling. I think the percentage thing from the press release was that like game sales have increased, like what was it, 70%, 80%, something like that.
There's a comparison to make between the Wii U and the Vita here, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a very positive way, in the sense that right now the Wii U is not selling any units, and the Vita is literally not selling any units. But the Vita's software attach rate is amazing. Like, people who own Vitas buy video games on it all the time, even the ones who've had it since launch. I buy a Vita game like every month or two, thanks to sales, and then I bought Freedom Wars a little while ago. The attach rate is fantastic, and I think that's the future for the Wii U as well. People will still keep selling the Wii U, and it'll do well. It might even do very well once Animal Crossing and Zelda come out, but I think the Wii U's success is going to be in its software sales, not its hardware sales.
Yeah, and while I think Wii U will never have the same kind of indie support that Vita does, I mean, I think that Vita benefits a lot from kind of piggybacking on PS3 and PS4 as well. Mm-hmm. I don't think Wii U will ever have that kind of indie support, but it will have indie support, and it does have indie support. And also, you're going to have a much better first-party lineup coming to Wii U, as opposed to Vita, which... Does Sony still make games for Vita?
Actually, well, a lot of this is partnerships. Like, they're putting out Revelations next year, and they got a lot of indie games. But there is a few Japanese to America translations and stuff. Like, there's some, it might be called Orishika or something. There's some game coming out next year, which is an RPG. There's another one coming out, and then like they're doing things like Disney Infinity. That's getting a Vita port. But the answer is no.
that felt a lot like a girl telling her friend like she needs to break up with her boyfriend, and she's like, well, no, there's a lot of great things about him you don't see.
Like, I mean, he did put out that one Resistance game, and like Tearaway was pretty cool, I guess.
Where's Resistance Burning Skies 2?
Nowhere.
Actually, here's a fun fact about the Vita. Sony Bend, as far as I know, did just put up a posting working on another AAA Vita title, which is probably Uncharted Golden
Abyss. What do you think Retro's up to?
Put Retro on anything. Put it on Crash Bandicoot.
If you guys want the most important sales data from this month, friend of the show, Donald Terrio, chimed in to say that Sonic Boom on Wii U did about 25,000 copies, and the 3DS did worse than that.
That well!
Version. So, there you go. So that was kind of supposed to save the Wii U and 3DS. I think we can place all blame there. So.
Yeah, I think if Nintendo gave Sega any money for that, they're probably like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, that like exclusive 3-game deal kind of didn't work out. All-Star Racing was good.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of the 3-game deal.
That wasn't part of the deal, right?
Yeah. What
games were?
But that racing, well, I mean, for the 4 people who watched me do the live stream when the Wii U came out, Sonic Racing on Wii U was hilariously broken when it first came out. Like, there were a bunch of like cool multiplayer modes, and you just enter them and you just fall through the ground. And like then it would be like player 3 won, and be like, what happened? I don't know. They fixed it though. If you haven't played that game, you should play it. But the 3 games were Sonic Lost World, Sonic Boom,
and then Mario and Sonic.
Yeah.
Oh God, Mario and Sonic, yeah. Wow, so I reviewed...
Sonic Lost World might have actually... Yeah, Sonic Lost World was the best game out of the 3.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I reviewed 2 of those 3 games, and they were in... I reviewed the 3DS Sonic Boom game, and then Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, and those were both terrible. So, wow. I missed out.
And then the final point before we close out the show. The sales of Amiibo are approximately equal to the sales of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U so far, while Link, Mario, and Pikachu in that order have been the best-selling figures to date. And I just want to say, I thought that order would have been reversed. Like, entirely, as in Pikachu outsells Mario, outsells Link. But apparently Link as a character has a bigger fan base than Mario.
There's that fabled Marth no one can find. You know, I'm not surprised. Like, I think Link has a lot of cachet, and I think the Zelda franchise does too. And I think the reason we don't realize it as much is just because Nintendo's a little more careful with Zelda and don't usually release games quite as often. Now, I know, like, we're getting distracted by these Amiibo dancing. Like we had Link Between Worlds, and now we're getting the Majora's Mask remake, and then we'll have the new Zelda Wii U game. But for the most part, it's not quite like on the level of something like Mario or even Pokemon. So I think we just don't realize how beloved that franchise is because it's just not quite out and open as much as those others. But
Yeah.
And then selling as much as Smash Bros, that should mean that there's an attach rate of about 1 per person, but it really means there's an attach rate of 8 for about a third of the audience of Smash Bros.
Well, I was gonna say when you release all those Amiibo and then you're saying, oh, it's selling as many as Smash Bros. That just means that a fraction of the Smash Bros. Audience bought all of them, like our friend Neal Rotnahan here. Well, that reminds me, Alex, have you bought any Amiibo?
I bought Smash Bros. Like last week. It's still sealed because I'm not home yet. But I also bought the Pikachu one with it, just because I wanted some Amiibo and they didn't have the Villager. Pikachu seemed like the right option. But
see, that's how I went. Like I just got Yoshi because Yoshi's my favorite, and like I knew I'd want to have that one just on my shelf when I'm not using it. And that's like where I'm at right now. Like I don't need any more Amiibo until I know that like there's a game that's going to really use them. That's not an Amiibo. Get that garbage out of here.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching the first installment of Nintendo News Report, and be sure to tell us everything you liked and or disliked about the show. It's in the very early stages. We want to see how it does, and your feedback would be very much appreciated. I want to thank Neal and Scott for joining me. They can be found on Twitter at Enron10, N-R-O-N, the number 10, as well as at OKSoda in Scott's case, OK in the word soda. I can be found at CULAFIA, Kulafia. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Wait, Alex,
Yeah.
wait. I just want to say that I have a feeling that if your camera went down a little bit, that room you're in would look a lot like a room from Saw. That's just why.
You know what? It absolutely does. This is
Wait, are we still
straight up
recording?
dungeon.
Good.
Yeah, we're straight up recording. Who wants to see my
Someone over
victims?
there? Is that a dead body?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
All right, that'll be all.
Okay,
we want to
bye.
check stuff out on the site. We're gonna have our Game of the Year stuff up probably this time next week. So,
There you
All
go.
right, bye.
Bye.
bye.